What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Nerdlocker podcast. I am Brandon,
And I am Jimmy.
and we're going to talk about some stuff. First up, this week we got a final. They said it's the final. I don't know about that, but got the final trailer for Logan.
Holy cow, man. I thought the first trailer was awesome and revealing and was really nervous about the movie. And then this one, like some of the things we had speculated and guessed on, I'm really surprised that Fox went this route. Happily surprised.
Oh yeah, well I like the. I mean, this one it's a Red Band trailer
Hmm.
that they released, and it's a lot more adult. We do get confirmation that the younger girl is X-23, and it looks like she's just as badass as Wolverine, and I'm stoked on that.
Yeah, and it looks like she is um, completely untrained, not in the use of her weapon, but in how to be a human being.
Which is really like the really spot on with the origin of X-23. Like if you,
Exactly.
if you really remember her from the comics, it was kind of like she only knew violence and only really, that's what she was made for. She was made to kill, and they've done a lot with her. And now she is Wolverine, which I think is awesome. And that's a really good book if you're not reading it. But this looks like maybe one of the best movies we could get from the Fox X-Men universe.
Yeah, and I hate to rip on Fox, but it's almost like they took notes from Captain America: Civil War. It's like, oh man, how are we going to do Civil War with all these characters that we don't own? All right, they figured it out, and it's a great movie. Well, likewise, the theory that they were going to do Old Man Logan, it's like, well, how are they going to do that? Because they don't own a lot of the characters that they would need to tell the story. And I'm not saying they're trying to make that movie again, but to put Logan in a advanced future where he is aged and the world has changed, and we see this, like they're making comic books about the X-Men in the movie. I
Which
thought
I
that was
really, really
awesome.
liked. Because if you notice, he says too, he's like, some of it happened, some of it different, but man, this is different from the comic books. Like, I
Yeah,
kind of like that because they are acknowledging that the movies are much different.
and
And
that would be your way to, like you were saying, or we've said a couple times now, if they rebooted it, just be like, oh yeah, those were the comic book stories. Those were all fake. Now we're going to tell the real X-Men stories.
exactly. But yeah, I gotta say, I'm really impressed with this. Pat, I mean, it's not. If you've read Old Man Logan, don't. I think it's a bad idea to compare that to this because it's not the same thing at all. It just isn't. Like,
No, but that's what I'm saying is that Fox wisely didn't try and do exactly what that was. Similar to Captain America, did not try and recreate Civil War as the comic book story was. What I
yeah,
like is they took, as opposed to Hawkeye, which they don't own, they took an aged popular character, and that's Patrick Stewart as Professor X.
he
And
looks great in this too, man.
he
What's he say?
does,
He's like,
man.
she's 12, I'm fucking 90. I'm like, awesome. Like,
It's like it is. It's like perfect. I'm so happy that Patrick Stewart is so cool that he would come back and do this. But yeah, I'm thrilled.
yeah, this looks great. I have a lot of hope for this movie, and I think it's just, I think it's kind of crazy that it took them to do a movie outside, in a possible future of their
Mm.
franchise for it to finally be, a winner.
And I think you and I had talked about this before. We saw Eric LaSalle smile in the trailer.
Yeah, yes, we did.
Like we still don't know who he is, but wow, he had a smile on. I remember watching ER for years and I don't think he ever smiled. He was always angry.
This movie's going to be full of surprises. Speaking of surprises, it looks like there's been a lot of talk about a Shazam movie, and for years, everyone was saying The Rock should play Black Adam. They finally cast him as Black Adam, and it's just kind of been in limbo. But it looks like Black Adam will be getting his own solo movie as well.
Yeah, that's crazy. We were just talking about this last week about, oh, Black Adam, yeah, part of Shazam, villain, la la la. And then out of nowhere, and it's not in a bad way, but out of nowhere, all of a sudden, he gets his own movie, and it's like, wow, okay. That's
Well,
cool.
we were talking about this last week in that, like, he is classically he's a villain, but ever since 52 and kind of him getting a more front and center kind of role, he's been an anti-hero. Like it's kind of like this, like we said last week, like the Sinestro thing, where it's he's a villain, but you have to understand where he's coming from. And I honestly think a lot of this has to do with The Rock as well. Like you cast somebody who has proven he can hold a movie by himself.
Hmm.
And I think that definitely played into, giving him his own movie as Black Adam. And you'll probably see him in Egypt and, his struggle and him becoming the first Shazam and all that and, kind of his downfall, I assume. But what was the other thing? You said it's from, you said New Line Cinema too?
Yeah, that's the weird part. Obviously, Warner Brothers owns DC, so everything comes out through DC. And this one was by way of New Line Cinema. That's just what the press release said. So I'm not entirely sure what that means. I honestly don't know if at this point New Line Cinema is a subsidiary of Warner Brothers. It wasn't, so
Yeah, I
I
wasn't
don't know if
sure
it
of that
is.
either.
But I
They
was
did,
surprised at that.
they did say this is going to be developed simultaneously to the Shazam film. So
All right. And as a quick search, I'm sorry, New Line is a they did buy Warner Brothers did buy New Line Cinema.
it's not, or
It
they
is.
do.
They bought it.
Oh,
And if memory serves correct, this is interesting. I believe it was New Line Cinema who released Blade
it might have
way
been.
back. So that's an interesting. I mean, it means nothing, but that's an interesting little crossover from way back when.
Yeah, but like I said, I mean, we all know The Rock can hold a movie on his own and kick ass and do all that. So, I mean, I guess that's what we'll be seeing from this. It's interesting, but I mean, so far DC with their movies have kind of just done whatever the fuck they want, regardless. So, in a way, it's surprising, but in another way, it's not surprising at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Wow. Sorry, I'm still stuck on New Line Cinema. The house that Freddy Krueger built is making DC movies.
Yeah, yes, it is.
Speaking
Another
of violence,
super violence.
yeah, I'm shocked this hadn't come out. I bought the digital version. I'm sure other people have the Blu-ray version of The Force Awakens, and there are deleted scenes on there. But this one I had no clue existed until last week. We started seeing a video circulating about Chewbacca ripping off somebody's arm.
Yeah, in the Force Awakens, Simon Pegg's character, the guy on the Junker planet, that
Ungar plot.
yeah, fuck, he does have a name. Uh, I guess he follows Ray to the place where they kind of meet up and the big battle takes place. What is the name of the planet they land on? I
Sadly, I don't remember, but it's what's her name, Maz.
Yeah, where they meet Maz and all that. She's walking around, and Simon Pegg's character shows up, and he's like, "You're in a lot of trouble for what you've done." Blah 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 blah. And Chewie comes over, and he tries to step to Chewie, and Chewie rips his goddamn arm off.
Yeah, it was cool to see, but like you and I were talking about, if you take the whole film together, that was just weird.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong. There is a part of me that has always waited to see Chewie just go absolutely Wookie shit on some people. Like I want to see like Chewie just messing people up. But the way in which this was done just seemed out of like if you would have shown me a deleted scene after Han gets killed and Chewie's running around ripping arms off of stormtroopers, that would have made more sense. But this was just like, hey, don't mess with my friend. And rather than like punching him, he's like, no, I'm gonna dismember you. It's kind of like it's kind of like Obi-Wan cutting off a dude's arm in the cantina. It's like, wow, let's
Oh,
just
that's funny.
relax here for a minute. Like,
I hadn't thought about that.
I really like that. That's the one thing that kind of dawned on me. But that was to show like a lightsaber in action.
Yeah.
This is just like, don't get me wrong, it was cool, but I'm kind of glad they cut it because I think it would have been like, whoa, dude, what the fuck is going on here? Like,
The thing I did occur to me though, and I hope this isn't true because I really want Rey to be Luke's daughter, is that if that was Han's and Leia's daughter, Chewie would react like that.
see, I've continually thought um, that's who she is, and
Oh, good. I feel much better because you're
everyone
usually wrong.
everyone tells me I'm wrong. Everyone
You're
says I'm
usually
wrong about
wrong, so
this,
thank
but
God.
I that's who I think it is. Because my thing with, and we could get into this because we really don't have too much to talk about this week. My thing is if Luke Skywalker is fucking and having a kid, he's basically making the same mistakes his dad made when he's trying to restart the Jedi Order. Um, I don't know how you view it, but I assume that when he was trying to redo, when he was trying to make a new Jedi Order and all that, like he was going by the book of what they used to do. So the whole idea of him having a kid, it's like, dude, you just made the same mistake your dad did. Like,
Wait a minute. Where when what you mean in the books when he was remaking the
no,
Jedi
in
Order?
the movie, like because he's trying to do this, and then the Knights of Ren rise up and
Oh, I see what you're
murder
saying.
all the
Okay.
Padawans, and he goes into seclusion. But that's the way I've kind of looked at it. Is I thought if he's doing that, he's making the same mistakes. So I just never thought it would be his daughter.
Well, I wish I could give credit to this person who came up with this theory, but I can't remember who it was or where I read it. But somebody had come up with the theory that Han and Leia, the reason why they went their separate ways or fell back on what they knew best, wasn't because Kylo Ren. Because when they talk, they say this tragedy or this thing happened, but they make it sound like it happened before anything happened with Kylo Ren.
See
So
the
the
whole
theory was that it was that they either had to send off their daughter, or her daughter was kidnapped, and that daughter obviously is Rey, and that was the tragedy that led to them being split up, and then Kylo Ren going off to be taught by Luke, and him feeling like he wasn't getting any attention because they were so worried about this person that was missing, and so he turned dark.
the that makes sense. The timeline, or the thing I came to in my head with everything was that he was sent away on this planet to train with Luke. Like they make it sound like it was a secluded thing. It wasn't just like, "How's my little boy doing?" Like Luke has them on a planet trying to train them,
Mm-hmm.
and when uh, Kylo Ren is seduced by the dark side, I assume that because Leia's force sensitive, they have a daughter, and maybe he doesn't know that. Maybe he doesn't know he has a sister yet. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
could be one of those things because it's so secluded and because they're not like checking in on him, that they find out he turns and they're like, we have to hide her because
Oh,
if he
interesting.
finds out about her, that's somebody else that's somebody else that they can seduce to that side. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like they hide her away as like a last hope type thing. That's what I always thought was happening with this.
Interesting.
So I just always thought that it was like we have to hide her because if he finds out about her, he's going to try to bring her over to the dark side, and we need somebody to you know stand up against him.
Well, that makes sense.
And then Han was like, "I'll do it," and then he dies.
And that's where, not to be curmudgeon, but that's where I get frustrated in that a lot of the extended universe was destroyed because he does have a wife. Luke he has a wife. He has a kid. In fact, his kid's the one that's named Ben. Um,
Well, that's in there.
it's a cool story,
That's
but
no longer
it's all,
canon.
that's what I mean. It's extended
Yeah,
universe. It's gone. So that's where I do get angry at Disney at that. I totally understand why they did it. They had to do it. It's awesome. But like I still feel like those things are
exists.
possible, but they
Yeah.
maybe they don't. Maybe Maybe you're right. But
Uh,
then again, Luke wasn't really trained as a Jedi, so he doesn't know that they don't get it
yeah,
on and
that
all that
too.
stuff.
That too. That's something that I felt as well because it's been so many decades of future Star Wars stories and comic books and books and all these
Hmm.
things that have happened since Return of the Jedi. And I'm with you. Like in one sense, it's like cool. Now we don't know what's going to happen, but in the same sense, you're like, man, I was really hoping to see these characters and like, the whole what is it? They do a clone of Palpatine and
Yeah.
yeah, like all that stuff would be really cool to see. But I understand them being like, well, this didn't happen because we don't want you to know what's going to happen in the movies. So
And there's definitely something to be said about that because when they came up with the prequels, even though we didn't know exactly how they were going to tell the story, we knew, everybody knew what was going to happen. Darth Vader was going, or Anakin was going to turn to Darth Vader. Everybody knew that.
yeah,
Now, for the first time in, as weird as it sounds, in my lifetime that I can remember, I have no idea where Star Wars is going.
yeah.
And it's awesome.
Oh, it is, and I got to tell you, after Rogue One, I have a lot of hope for these. So these standalone movies they're doing.
Oh, hell yeah. And that's what's awesome is the way they did it. They made everything that much more important in A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back,
Oh,
everything.
absolutely.
And I love it. Even added to me to The Force Awakens because you see essentially a world without Jedi. So it distances your knowledge from the Revenge of the Sith, where there's Jedi everywhere. Then Order 66 comes out, and then we essentially don't have any Jedi. And you take that point to what 60 years later or wherever we are with the Force Awakens, and Rey's telling it, "Oh, I thought that was a myth," and it's like, yeah, no wonder why you think it a myth because you've never seen them. It's just stories, and that's awesome.
Yeah, that is the one thing because I remember even going into this movie, I'm thinking like, okay, peace has been restored to the galaxy and it's a smooth ride and everything's great, and you're gonna see like you know Kylo Ren and the new Empire kind of take over, and no, it turns out that it hasn't been this smooth transition since
Hmm.
everybody was dancing on the moon of Endor and
Yeah.
with you know fucking teddy bears and shit. So I really liked that it threw me for a loop because all this time you're like, oh man, I wonder how perfect everything's gonna be, and it's like, nah, man, it hasn't been.
Well, that's where I also really am impressed that they're integrating a lot of the things from the animated series. And we saw bits and pieces in Rogue One of Rebels
Which
with
was
like the
awesome.
ship Ghost and stuff, and the one character from Clone Wars. I don't
Yeah,
know where my
that
brain's
that
going.
was Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah, uh, but I'm wondering if we're going to start seeing more of that in these solo shots. Like one of the weird things that I read was they were thinking of doing an Obi-Wan Kenobi solo film, which I think would be awesome. Let's see what he was doing while on Tatooine, meaning, hey, was he taking day trips to go try and fight the dark side, the Inquisitors or whatever?
Yeah.
Um, but they don't want to because he might play a role in the mainstream Skywalker movies, and you're like, what? How in the hell is this going to happen? What is going on?
Well, have you
This is
been have you
crazy.
been reading the ongoing for Marvel, the main Star Wars book?
No, I haven't.
There's been like two or three standalone stories of Obi-Wan like kind of watching over and protecting Luke as a kid, and they've been great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like it's really cool because you know he went into hiding and seclusion, and it's cool because it's Owen knows who he is,
Hmm.
and he wants him to do. He doesn't want Luke to grow up knowing what his father did, who his father was, and he just wants to forget about it all. And anytime he shows up, him and Owen have words, and it's really they're really good stories, and I thought it was a really cool side of the character you're not seeing. And as you're talking about including stuff from Rebels, I do know that now that the universe is in one, owned by one company, and it's obviously not going to go anywhere.
Mhm.
Because Dark Horse had it, and Marvel did books back in the day, and it's kind of been all over the place. And there's been so many different things. Now that it's focused, the Star Wars book, the main title you're reading, it is all canon. Everything that's happening is now canon in the universe. So I like that idea that they're telling you what Obi-Wan was doing and things like that.
I do like how it's cohesive because there was, I think it was in the last year of Dark Horse, and anybody would have done this, but Dark Horse was just trying to throw out all the Star Wars stuff they could to maximize the end of their license.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
they were telling the origin of the Jedi, and we were still doing reviews on camera and all that, and I thought it was horrible. I hated it. I hated what they came
Oh,
up with.
the old one, the one where it was like how they started.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was not a book I liked at all. I was stoked when it came out because I was like,
Yeah.
oh, we get to see the origin of all this, and it just kind of fell flat for me.
Oh, it was, to me, it was awful, and it had nothing to do with Star Wars. I was so disappointed. That's probably one of the most disappointing books I had been looking forward to.
I agree with you.
Remembering.
That was not at all how I wanted that to play out. Like it just was not
On the flip
not
side,
good.
I will give them kudos for, I think it was still Dark Horse who did the Star Wars, which was the comic books based on the original script from George
Yeah,
Lucas.
that was one of the last things they did too, which was
Yeah,
pretty
that
cool.
was interesting.
Yeah, I like that just because it was the original idea, and
Hmm.
that was like to me that's something you could have fun with. Like this is how
Exactly.
it was supposed to go, and like just having the original designs of everybody, and even Han Solo and all of that was really really well done. I like that.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it myself.
But yeah, we got a lot to look forward to with Star. Oh, on the same Star Wars note that you guys were talking about last week, Lucasfilms came out and said definitively that um, they will not be recreating Carrie Fisher's likeness in any future movies. They're not going to do that. They
Until
said
they
that.
change their mind next week.
Yeah, I mean that could be true.
But I was pleased to read that, but I'll believe it when I am dead.
You think they're gonna do something down the line here?
I think if they're not able to find a story that they really like, that they might go back to it. I'm not sure why they exact came out and said, no, we're not doing this, as opposed to, hey guys, we haven't figured it out yet.
Well, I
Um,
gotta tell you too, man. The internet gets fucking brutal with some of this stuff. So like, I understand them saying that because I'm sure there were a lot of people just being like, "Oh yeah, they're gonna do this," and like her dying came out of nowhere and it sucked, and they probably just wanted to like ease that talk going on,
yeah.
and that makes sense. But I kind of, I mean, to think that she played a big part in the Force Awakens. I assume she's gonna have a big part in the next one. To just never see her again is kind of depressing to think about.
Oh yeah. Very, very depressing. To go back to your other point, man, we've been doing this almost 7 years, and I swear the internet just gets worse and worse.
Oh
It's
my god.
unbelievable.
Yeah, like just even like the backlash on shit, and
Yeah,
it's
it's like why can't we just be fanboys and enjoy something? It seems like everybody has to have a troll. Like I can't imagine everybody's has to be negative. It's just trolls. Like, oh, I'm just gonna disagree because I want to.
yeah, I mean that sounds about right. Definitely
Ridiculous.
not wrong.
Ridiculous. Anyway, where are we going from here, Brandon?
Um this was just a little thing floating around that I wanted to bring up because I'm super hopeful for it. This is something I wanted to talk about that I'm just hopeful for more than anything. Um It looks like Guillermo del Toro is possibly approaching Ron Perlman about moving forward with a Hellboy 3. This is one of the instances where the movies are absolutely nothing like the comic book, but they're a lot of fun. And I personally would like to see a third Hellboy movie, especially since you're going to have little Hellboy children running around. Because the end of the second one, she's pregnant with twins. I think they're fun, and I think that he has a good handle on the character, and I would just like to see another one of these movies. So I think that's really cool possible news that could be happening.
I'm about to lose my nerd card. I
Uh,
don't care.
Oh man, come on. Hellboy's so much fun.
I didn't. I tried to watch Hellboy, the first one. I'm like, all right, whatever. I didn't even give it a try at the second one because I didn't like the first one.
Oh, dude,
And
they're so great, man.
you ready? You ready? I'll go old school for you. Guillermo del Toro, as our once colleague Ryan Brunty couldn't say Guillermo. Guillermo del Toro has no interest. I don't like his movies.
Oh, dude, come on, man.
I know, I know.
Kronos.
Nope,
You've never watched. What about? Didn't you like Pacific Rim?
didn't see it because I don't like him.
What are you talking about?
This is what I'm talking about, dude. What was his? Shoot, I gotta look it up now.
Pan's Labyrinth? You didn't like
There you
that?
go. Hated it.
Oh, come on. What?
Hated it.
Don't you?
I'm sorry, Mexico has no happy endings.
Is that
I don't want
you
to watch it.
or?
I don't want to watch it. I want a happy ending. I want
No way,
something that makes
dude.
me feel good.
I gotta tell you, I went to his exhibit at the LA Art Museum
Hmm.
last summer, and it was absolutely amazing. And just to like read about like the things in his life that like influenced him and how he's like he was his grandmother had two exorcisms performed on him
Hmm.
because he was always into monsters and stuff.
That's
And
awesome.
like he was raised like hardcore Catholic. His family was hardcore Catholic, and because he was always into monsters and dark things and stuff, his grandma at two different times had exorcisms performed on him, and because they didn't work, that kind of played into his whole thing of like thinking religion is bullshit because he's like, nope, still into this stuff, but it is cool because he always kind of uses that um, reflection of
Hmm.
like religious overtones and like that super Catholic Spanish overtones in a lot of his movies.
Yeah.
It was a really cool. He's got so much shit, man. Like his wife actually made him buy a house to put all of his shit into. So he has a home that he goes into when he wants to write and does, and it's got all of his like models and toys, and he's got like old H.P. Lovecraft books, and he's got all these Disney cells, and it was one of the most incredible things I've ever been to, and it really made me appreciate his movies more. So maybe you should do that next time it's there, Jim.
I will say this. I do enjoy his vision, and I like the idea of Guillermo del Toro,
You
but I
didn't.
really don't like his movies. I think it starts with Blade 2. I hated Blade 2, and I loved Blade 1, and I like Blade 3. I hate
You like Blade 3? Oh, come
Blade
on.
2. Dude, that is Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool before last year's movie.
Absolutely.
That's what I liked about it. Oh, I'm sorry. And I like looking at Jessica Biel. She's hot.
Yeah, but then the thing I hated, I think I hate a like obvious product placement like in a serious film like Back to the Future is whatever, because it's like funny. But like when she's in the back of the car and she's on her laptop with an iPad, the iPod, and he's like, she likes to make playlists when she goes out and kill. Like, come the fuck on, man! I hate that shit. And
And it was still better than 2.
oh, it was not. It was so
Yes,
not.
it
And like
was.
even I don't know, dude. I can't. I can't.
But back to your original point, it was pretty cool. I think it was Ron Perlman put out a tweet basically saying, I really want to do Hellboy 3. Let's get this going. And I believe it was Guillermo del Toro that put it in an actual poll. Hey, vote. Do you want it or not? Yes or no? So
Absolutely.
basically reaching out
I'm
to the fans. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's like, hey, if you want to show the studios that you can do it, why not show the big support you have and show them, hey, look, this is what we've got. Let's do this.
Yeah. I think that is. Wow. Actually, this is really interesting. This is like breaking news, kind of. It looks like Miguel Ferrer from RoboCop
Yeah,
has just passed away.
he passed away earlier today.
Well, it's interesting because there was a thing running on the Teen Titans, the Judas Contract, the next animated movie
Yeah,
coming out, that he was just added for a character that has not been named yet.
yeah. He's uh he's got an awesome history. Are you familiar with him at all?
I know who he is.
Do you know who his mom is?
No.
And his dad?
Nope.
His mom is Rosemary Clooney.
Really?
He is, yeah, he's George Clooney's cousin.
No shit.
Yeah, he was really good friends with Dominique Dunn from the movie V or Poltergeist,
Okay.
and was a pallbearer at her funeral. She was the one who died because she got strangled by an ex-boyfriend. She was 26 or something ridiculous. He was good friends with Brandon Lee. He was a pallbearer at Brandon Lee's funeral.
Really?
Yeah, he was good friends with Carrie Fisher because his mom, Rosemary Clooney, and her mom, Debbie Reynolds, were both in musicals and on stage and theater. So Miguel helped her read her lines when she went to audition for Princess Leia.
No shit.
Yeah. So he's got a really awesome history. He was supposed to come back for his character on Twin Peaks. I have no idea if that was completed or not.
That's in post production, so I'd assume it is.
I hope so for obviously his sake and
Yeah.
his legacy. But yeah, he's done a lot of stuff, but it's always kind of been like, oh yeah, there's that guy. That's cool.
I know
And
he
he's been
did. I
on
know he did a
TV.
lot of voiceover stuff too for
Hmm.
actually a lot of cartoons that I watched growing up, and probably currently because I still watch cartoons. Um,
Nothing wrong with that.
yeah, no, not at all. But yeah, so I don't know if he's already done his lines for that movie or if that's gonna have to be changed now. Um, and then it looks like Christina Ricci joined that cast as well. This was actually like a little bit of weird trivia. One of the original movies they wanted to do was the Judas Contract, the animated movies for DC, which I think DC kills it with all their animated movies.
Hmm.
I
For
love,
sure.
yeah, I love those movies. And this kept getting put on, put off, put off, put off, put off, and then they recently did one with Damian kind of assembling the Teen Titans or joining the Teen Titans, and you know we're bringing them into the fold, and it ends with Terra on a rock floating towards the Titans Tower. So it's like, oh, cool, we're finally gonna get that. So hopefully this doesn't derail that anymore, because God, we've been waiting at least 10 years for the Judas contract to come out.
Interesting. Yeah, that was. I saw that at about I don't know lunchtime or so, Pacific time.
Well,
That was a bummer. Huge
he,
bummer.
one of the last casualties of old America, as
Casualties, man. All these people are lucky. Anybody who dies after tomorrow is like, wow, you got 1 day of Trump, or you got 1+ day of Trump.
yeah, we're recording this in the old America, so I don't know what tomorrow. I assume that when you're listening to this, it's just like a weird orange glow in the sky that just won't go away.
Like the Purge.
Yeah, it's just 4 years of that bullshit.
Well, sort of on those lines. I think this was funny, and by that I mean stereotypes. They are remaking a movie from the '90s, Brandon.
This doesn't need to be remade. This 100%. There are certain films that you don't need to remake because it's just not like
Because it was perfect the first time. Is that what you're telling me?
yes, yes. I'm telling you, it's perfect the first time. Just like when there were things going around about Monster Squad being remade. There's just certain
Oh
movies
yeah.
like that would be like remaking 16 Candles or Breakfast Club or a, a bunch of other movies that are just like let them be. They're good movies. Leave it at that.
Now it would be we are talking about White Men Can't Jump. That's the one that's getting remade. What I would love to see though is Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes back on the court as like the old guys, not the stars, just somewhere in the background as the old guys. I would love that.
I no. You know it'll happen.
What?
You know that'll happen. It's
Oh
gonna
yeah.
happen.
Oh yeah.
But why are you like who like come on. Why are we remaking this?
I really thought sort of the downfall of entertainment was all these movies that are coming to TV. And yeah, I thought it was kind of getting ridiculous. Like it started out okay, we're Hannibal, okay. Bates Motel was pretty cool, And then you hear more like Exorcist is coming, and Lethal Weapon, and Taken. I'm like, dear God, what is going on that we can't come up with original programming? We just have to regurgitate stuff that was movies.
Now,
Now, that
I
being
will
said,
defend the Hannibal TV show,
well, I can say that being said, a lot of them have turned out to be really good.
but they canceled that right as they started getting into Red Dragon.
Yeah,
Um, which I don't mind that as much because it's not a movie. You're not going to see another Exorcist movie or a Hannibal movie. Like you're doing it in a different art form. You know, it's a different uh, subjective art form that
yeah.
I I don't
And as we've
mind that.
learned, you can get more into character and development and all that stuff because you're telling it across 10, 20 hours, depending on how many episodes you have in a season. So I've got no problem with that. It's just when you hear all the ideas, like remember they were going to do a Beverly Hills Cop TV show,
Yeah,
and you're like, what? It's ridiculous.
it wasn't. It was supposed to be like his son, right?
Yeah. Yep. Axel's son.
Yeah, I don't know.
Thankfully, that never came to fruition. But surprisingly, like The Exorcist, I haven't seen. I'm not up to date on it, but I started watching it with Gina Davis. It's surprisingly good.
I see it on streaming. I just haven't uh, watched it yet. By the way, you and Patrick are. But I can't find Sherlock anywhere to stream. It's not on PBS. It's not on Hulu. It's not on any of this shit. So if anyone happens to know where that is, come at me at Brandon Zitch on any social media and tell me where I can watch this. Because
I
you
gotta
guys
admit,
were wrong.
we were pretty brutal last week, but it was more of you not understanding how to get on PBS. That's what cracked us up.
I just didn't think PBS. First of all, I thought it was BBC America. I didn't realize PBS was showing it. It is BBC America. Well, it's BBC.
Yeah,
I just thought BBC America would be showing. I know PBS was, but
I just looked
PBS.
right here. I don't watch Sherlock, so I have no idea, but it says Sherlock season 4, The Final Problem, episode 3,
Where?
PBS.org.
This is you're full of shit. I can't find that anywhere.
I am okay. Ready? Here we
Yes,
go. I'm setting it to you on chat. The link.
guys, he's probably lying. I did this last week after. Son of a bitch. Well, I can't start episode 3. I gotta start episode 1.
Well, I don't watch the show. I don't. I'm assuming they have it somewhere. But there you go. You said you couldn't find it anywhere, and it took me 2 seconds to find it.
Whatever. This is rigged. Everything's rigged. It's wrong.
Now I'm beginning to think you're a Trump supporter.
Stop saying
Not
that.
not too bright.
Stop saying that.
He's not, folks. Don't
Yeah.
don't send him
I'm
nasty
not
emails
I'm
or
not a monster.
anything like that. He's a normal, smart human
I
being,
have
unlike the Trump supporters.
exactly. Well, it's a little bit of a shorter episode, but hey,
We'll blame it on Patrick.
yeah, Patrick being all adult and not having time to do this right now.
Yeah, seriously, Patrick had a meeting. Like he was actually adulting. What a
Yeah, but
loser.
I bet I'm talking shit, but I bet his meetings are like super super hard. I bet he's got like crazy meetings and shit.
I was gonna say I was in meetings with Patrick back at Vegas.com when he was in marketing, and they weren't scary. But now that he's like in brand, what is it, like brand protection or something, like legal, it's like I wouldn't want to mess with Patrick.
I wouldn't want to mess with Patrick anyways, which is why I continually push Patrick's buttons. I,
It is,
I love Patrick, and it's like I know we're friends, and I don't think he would kill me, but I like to just test that out every once in a while. And I do it right until the point of when he just looks at me and he's like, "Hey," I'm like, "All right, yep, I'm going too far. Time to stop now."
well, while you're playing these games and you're still single, would you mind putting me in your will?
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be great if I could get all your toys and your comics while you messing with Patrick.
Yeah, uh-huh. Well, I mean, I assume once he murders me, the first thing he'll do is go through my stuff. So whatever he doesn't take is absolutely yours.
Well, that's cool because then legally I'll just go back and be like, "Look, Patrick, these are mine. I'm sorry.
And I guess
I know I know you killed him, but
now that you bring up being single, when I do get a girlfriend, she'll probably make me get rid of all this shit. So I'll let you know when that happens as well.
yeah, I'm thinking Lars and the girlfriend. Good luck,
Uh
buddy.
huh. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week. Be sure to check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that fun stuff, Twitter, and nerdlocker.com as well. I'm going to start getting back to doing videos regularly this week. We kind of had a busy early month. And then I'm also going to start doing reviews in retrospect where I just watched, movies that may have been judged harshly in the past and see how they hold up or if they're better as time went on, or good movies and see how they hold up with everything. So I'm going to start doing that on YouTube. Anything else you want to throw out there?
Nope.
All right, then. That's going to do it. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, you guys have a nerdy week.